This is Grow Omaha Uncut, where you can watch our radio show, including what goes on in the commercial breaks. And be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons.
Well, good morning and welcome to the show. Jeff Beals here at your service. We are brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding. This is the only show in the entire metro area that focuses on construction, real estate, business, economic development, really anything related to Omaha becoming even more vibrant, even more prosperous, and an even more enjoyable place to live. Without any further ado, however, it is time to bring on my co-host, a man who is a legendary real estate deal-making machine, Trenton Magid.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Beals.
Well, good morning to you. And
welcome to spring.
Yeah, no kidding. Aside from
the nuclear fallout.
Aside from this little snowflakes that are falling this morning around Dundee, it's a beautiful day.
It's okay. We'll get through it. It was blue sky, and then it just went to snow.
Yeah, it's always frustrating. You know, people always say, I love spring. I love spring. I love the second half of spring. The first half of spring is a heartbreaker. You know, you'll get a couple of those 75-degree days, and you think, oh, we've got it made. And then you have a day like today that settles in.
We went to ACX 12 Plus last night to see the new Jake Gyllenhaal movie, Covenant. Very good movie. And obviously their landscaper out there did all the flowers and everything, so they had a ton of plastic and paving blocks over all the brand new planted flowers.
Got to protect them.
So
I know this morning when I woke up, I left the house around 6:45, and I looked there, and it was still 34 degrees. So I think the plants and the flowers should probably be okay.
We saw a lot of tulips coming in, and hopefully they'll survive.
In Fair Acres in Dundee? Yeah, I noticed that too when I was driving to the studio. It was almost like a Dutch tulip fest in part of that neighborhood.
I thought I was in Orange City, Iowa for a second.
For a while. Well, hey, Trenton, let's go into our news of the week, which is brought to you by Eagle Mortgage. EagleMortgageCompany.com is where you can find them online. If you want to stop by the office, no problem. That's 114th and Dodge. But Eagle Mortgage will help you with mortgages. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's VA, FHA, or, of course, a conventional loan. They have mortgage brokers there that have been in the business. They know it. They're experienced, and they're very customer service focused. So we highly recommend Eagle Mortgage and suggest that you look into them if you're thinking about buying a new house. Well, a lot of things on the news today. And the first one is the Moxie by Marriott Hotel at 12th and Harney in the Old Market has officially announced an opening date. It'll be June 30th. This is a 6-story, 105-room hotel. It's new to the Nebraska market. The closest existing locations are in Minneapolis and Chicago.
I think it only took about 5 years to build.
That one did seem like a long, stretched out process.
Where the diner was. It was like an old-fashioned, like a San Francisco diner type place. It was a pretty cool place. But that building, which the pad is like 9,000 feet or whatever, it's shoehorned. There's parking in the garage across the street. It'll be cool, but it took forever.
It sure seemed to. And it's funny because a lot of times those, you know, it's a nice sized building anytime you're talking about 6 stories or whatever, but it's not huge in terms of square footage. And a lot of times it's some of those smaller hotels around town end up taking a long time to build, or some of those, they call them 4-on-1s, hotel or apartment buildings where you do 1 story of concrete and steel and 4 stories of wood frame on top of that. We're building them all over town like they're going out of style. We're doing them like crazy.
Which had existing first floor.
Some of those seem to take longer than you would think they would. They'll go on for a couple of years, and you'd think, oh my gosh, they ought to go up a little faster than that. But I'm sure there are reasons.
I was surprised, and you saw it on my face if you watched the video, last week when Deb Ward from Convention and Visitors Bureau said that we haven't really built a lot of hotels. The number of hotel rooms really hasn't increased that much in the last year. So I would think there's a lot more hotels going up.
Well, I think the reason for that is
maybe they're not open yet.
Several have closed. We've lost some. We lost a few during the pandemic, and the numbers ended up being kind of about a wash. Is what she was saying. We built several, but we lost some of them, and a lot of them that we lost were at not to be pejorative, but at the lower level, maybe some lower grade stuff. So
You wouldn't stay there.
overall, I wouldn't stay there. Good for you, but I wouldn't stay there. At any rate, talking about that diner that used to be on the site of the Moxie by Marriott Hotel, I have a place downtown in my head that would be perfect for a little diner. Okay, there's like a less than a quarter block right on the corner of 11th and Farnham. 11th and Farnham. On the southeast corner. So if you go a little to the east, there's an Indian restaurant. Then there's the building where the Convention and Visitors Bureau store is and all that. Right on that little corner to the west is Orange Theory Fitness. It's like less than a quarter of a block. That would be a perfect spot for one of those old diners. And the reason I think that is the Jean Leahy Mall across the street is en fuego. I mean, you went there. I was there a couple times over the last couple weeks during the business day at lunch. I would go down there if I had a meeting downtown because I'm a construction nerd. I kind of liked seeing what's going on with the Mutual of Omaha Tower. It was like Central Park in New York. It was so busy there. And there was guys with little push cart kiosks right on the corner selling things. That'd be a perfect spot for a diner.
How about putting it in the park to the east of like 10th Street, kind of like you see in other cities where, I don't know, it was Boston, where you're in this kind of a massive green area, and then there'll be like a little restaurant there or something.
That'd be kind of cool.
That'd be kind of fun.
Maybe, there's...
Did they just rip that building apart probably? I don't know if they saved that building.
That diner?
Yeah.
My guess is they probably put it on a truck and shipped it somewhere, but who knows? Well, that one wasn't really, that one was more of a building.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. I do know they can move. A lot of times people buy those diners and they move them to different parts of the city or different parts of the country.
A little Groma trivia for our folks. The company that Jeff and I ran through, what was that, 2000?
Through 2010.
2010, 2011, World Group, we had a trailer for 20 years on the I-80 at I-80 and Harrison, basically, that said World Group Development Services. That trailer doesn't disappear. It's now behind the CHI Health Center convention building.
Yeah, so if you're on that little driveway, it's called Riverfront Drive that you take to get to the Kiewit Luminarium, you can see the old World Group truck. And I think you had that made, 1998 or something like that?
$4,000 with labels and everything. It was awesome. Yeah,
so I know personally, whenever I drive by there, it's this bit of personal nostalgia.
It looks 3D now that some of the letters are kind of coming off, but it stayed forever. But here's a public service announcement. I didn't see a lot of signage when I went to go check it. I haven't been in it yet, but as you have. But do people really know how to get to the Kiewit Luminarium?
That's a good question.
You have to get there off of Abbott Drive, right?
Yeah, well, there's two ways because now there's a new Douglas Street. Actually, have you driven on that?
We drove out that way.
Okay, yeah. So for those who haven't been down there, let's say you're down by the Jean Leahy Mall and you take Douglas Street east. It kind of goes down that hill. It used to dead end right there at 8th Street. Now it doesn't.
It's two-way.
It goes, it's two-way. It goes into what will be kind of the parking area for Heartland of America Park when it opens later this summer. And then it curves around to the north onto Riverfront Drive right in front of the Kiewit Luminarium. I think it's great. It was a real nice design, but they
need some serious signage.
My guess is they just haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah.
It's so new.
And then the other way to get to it is off Abbott, right?
Yes.
Gallup?
Yeah, so you come down by Gallup and the Riverfront Place condo towers and can get to it that way.
Did you hear any rumors about Gallup being sold? The not the company, but the campus?
I have not.
So that's just a rumor. Don't hold us to it. We'll take that call. Roger will tell us, but there are rumors that the building's for sale. Speaking
of rumors and speaking about a different part of downtown that we were talking about, when I said there's that tiny little piece of a square block at 11th and Farnham, on the other side of that block, the south side of that block along Harney Street, there's a good solid half of a block there that's a surface parking lot. A lot of rumors that there is something brewing there. I know one of the brokers in our office was representing a client because it's listed right now for sale, and one of the brokers in our office, she contacted the listing broker about looking into it. And the person said, yeah, we're really close to a contract for $5 million. So
and it's teeny.
If that's true, and if someone wants to buy that half block for $5 million, presumably they would be planning on building something pretty impressive there at that
That'd
price.
be pretty tall, and I think it's owned by a hotel group.
Yeah.
Already, and they're for $5 million, they'd be like, we're out.
Yeah. All right. So moving right along, construction has started on Smash Park, an indoor-outdoor restaurant, bar, and entertainment center to be located just east of Cabela's and south of Embassy Suites in La Vista. Smash Park will have a 25,000 square foot building on a 3-acre lot. And they are into pickleball courts, like a lot of entertainment businesses are these days. Smash Park has 2 locations in Iowa and one coming soon in Minneapolis.
There's also, I think it's a Home 2 Suites. There's a hotel between that and Cabela's that hasn't started yet but should. And then a Panda Express right across the street as you go in at that road right before Westport Parkway, before you go into the drive for Cabela's, right to your right on that corner, near the existing hotels, there'll be a Panda Express.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that Kiewit Luminarium because Trenton had mentioned the access to it on Douglas and Riverfront Drive. I had the chance to go in it and visit it on Sunday, and I will tell you, if you haven't been there yet, it measures up. And as I said to my wife, Stephanie, while we were there, I'm like, basically the moment this opened, it was one of the best museums in this region of the country. It's really, really cool. And yes, a person would probably get the most benefit out of it if they're a kid. But as an adult, I actually absolutely loved it.
How much time do you think people should spend in there?
It just depends. We did about an hour, and I think a lot of people are going to want to spend a lot more than that. There were a lot of things we skipped, but we were just there to see it. And since it was opening weekend, last weekend, it was pretty crowded. And so we didn't want to, jostle, kids out of the way so that we could see something. So a lot of stuff we just kind of looked at casually. But I think if I were to go by myself on a random Tuesday afternoon where it was quiet and there weren't a lot of people, I'd probably spend a good 2.5 hours.
And it's supposed to be changing all the time, right?
Yeah, I think from what I can tell, there are certain things there that are going to be permanent, and then there are certain things there that will change. So you always have a reason to go back.
A lot of light and reflection and screens. And
Trenton, the whole thing is just off the charts cool. And in fact, I found myself a couple times saying, I wish they had this when we were kids, because when you go up on the second level, there's this multi-level geometric themed playground that if you were like a first grader or a second grader, you would be having the time of your life in there. And then I got to tell you, there is a restaurant inside. It's called Fig. It is operated by the same people who have Lola's, which is
awesome,
by the Dundee Theater. And anyway, the restaurant smelled very good. I went in and I had already had lunch, so I didn't eat there. But I walked in there and looked around, and the food looked great. It smelled great. It was beautiful. And as it turns out, if you ever want to go to this place, you don't have to go to the museum. You don't have to pay the admission to the museum if you just want to pop in and have lunch. The restaurant opens at 10 o'clock every day. It's called Fig. And like I say, I do plan to go sometime just for a meal.
Lola's one of our favorite restaurants.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And this, like I say, I had in fact, even though we had lunch, we almost got something there because the food smelled so good.
So architecturally, the Luminarium, which is defined as a piece of art you can walk through, how's the structure?
Oh, it's not a complicated structure, but it's a beautiful structure. So it's both utilitarian and attractive. There are places where the second floor doesn't cover the whole interior. The second floor is more of a mezzanine, if you will. So there are places where you can see all the way to the top of the roof, and it's a pretty tall building for just 2 levels. And like I say, it's not complicated. It's pretty utilitarian, but yet it's beautiful in the way they designed it. And I got to tell you, one of the things they did an outstanding job of doing with the design was they integrated it into the river. So there are many places where you see the river. In fact, there was one exhibit where they were teaching something or other where you looked through some screens that
make the river look blue?
Were filtered, and it made the river look blue.
No way.
But then one of the screens made it look pink. One of it looked yellow, but they do a good job. The Lewis and Clark Landing, the river is integrated into it. And then if you look out through some other windows, you have great skyline views.
You can see the river without any floaters in it.
Well, fortunately, there was nothing that we don't want floating in the river that floated by while we were there. But go see it, folks.
So get
It's
online
really cool.
and reserve a time. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, well, let's take our first break of the hour. And when we come back, frankly, we're just going to talk about more news of the week brought to you by Eagle Mortgage. We have so much going on that we have to split it into 2 sections. So stay with us. There's much more news to come. You're listening to Jeff Beals and Trenton Magid on Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding. Back in a moment on News Radio 1110 KFAB. So we got... So let me kind of cross off a few things we've talked about here, and then...
That's good radio.
What's that?
That's good radio, people.
That's quality
I
radio.
found the restaurant that you were mentioning, like in the middle of the park, that was in Savannah.
Oh,
Savannah, Georgia?
Yes, remember we
Yeah,
went
so-
to that restaurant in the middle of a
Yeah.
huge park? That was
It was kind of late
cool.
night. It was,
Yeah.
I
love that city.
At night, yeah, I
Yeah.
love it.
Love Savannah.
Yes. So
But
the
you know what I'm
lights
saying?
and
It doesn't
the
have that. Couldn't you see a nice round building
Yeah.
in the park?
Well, Central
Yeah.
Park in New York has a couple of things like that.
You know, kind of a lunch,
Place where you can
lunch.
eat,
Well,
yeah.
it used to be Tavern on the Green.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And it's excuse me.
Anyway, like I said, you guys have got to put Montreal on your list.
Okay.
And you know what I was okay. So
We can go next week.
I was taken back by the architecture and the history. They have buildings that were built in the 1600s.
In Montreal.
Yeah, not a ton of them, but they have a couple that were built in the 1600s, and a lot of them that were built in the 1700s.
What was the weather like this week?
Shitty, kind of like this. It was just cold and cloudy, and kind of like today here in Omaha. But who cares? It was so.
May, probably.
Yeah, I would. They always say the best times to go there wait till May, because then it gets nicer. And then
So Jeff Beals and
they're
his
probably about
international
3 weeks
training,
behind
sales
us
training
this spring.
business was in Montreal training commercial real estate professionals.
Yes, and it was good. So, but here's the part,
JeffBeals.com.
and there's this little area called Old Montreal, which is the original city that goes back to the 1600s. But other than the architecture, the thing that really blew me away were the restaurants. I mean, it turns out it's quite the foodie city. We went. I had
Big French influence, or
Yeah, huge French influence. A lot of, but then there's still some American and Canadian influence, and so for lunch, the first day I got there, I went to this place called Chez Del Mo, and great seafood. It's been around since the 1930s, and loved that. Then that night, I had a French dinner in the Fairmont Queen Elizabeth Hotel, which was really cool. Then for breakfast the next morning, I just did my Marriott hotel breakfast. But for lunch, because I did an all-day program for these guys, they brought in a lunch just in it was a private membership club where we met, the St. James Club, and it was like a French lunch, really good.
did you
And
get
then-
the T-shirt I asked for?
What was?
America, Canada's basement.
No, never even saw it for sale. And then that night, they took me to this place, which is one of the famous restaurants in Montreal. It's actually a Portuguese French restaurant.
No way.
It's a Portuguese French seafood restaurant. Off the charts. It was so frickin' good.
How many people went to that?
There were 8 of us. Yeah, 8 or 6 or 8. No, 6 of us that went to
He's
that.
Do you
international.
remember the name of the restaurant?
Yes, it was called. Because I posted it on.
So it's
on the
better
book
to
face.
stay in the old city, like in.
No, because the
or where?
old, the big hotels like the Intercontinental, the Marriott, the Fairmont, those are all in like regular downtown. But you cross one street and you go from regular downtown to Old Montreal.
Okay.
But it's like you cross that street, it's like you go to a different country. It's weird,
Okay.
but cool. I'll tell you more later. And welcome back to the show. Jeff Beals sitting next to Trenton Magid. And this show is brought to you by D&M Roofing and Siding and Dingman's Collision Center. Now, speaking of D&M Roofing and Siding, it is the spring. And after a long winter, there are many people out there who I need to do a little bit of work on that roof, because sometimes with that snow and ice, you get those little ice dams on the edge of the roof, and it might be a sign that the shingles need to be replaced. Springtime, it's been windier than hell here for the last the month. Well, sometimes that wreaks havoc on a roof, especially if the roof has been around for a while. So if you're going to do some work, just get a hold of D&M Roofing and Siding.
Even for your maintenance.
Oh, they do a fabulous job. In fact, do you realize, not that this has a big impact for the audience here in Omaha, but they opened a Texas division.
Yeah, they're going huge in Houston.
Yeah, so now they have D&M Roofing of Texas. So here in Omaha, it's called D&M Roofing and Siding, and then they have a sister company now, same ownership, D&M Roofing of Texas. Well, we live in Omaha, so we care about D&M Roofing and Siding, and they'll do a darn good job for you, commercial and residential. All right, let's keep going with our news of the week, brought to you by Eagle Mortgage. There's just so much to talk about this week. We're going to split it in two, and the next story is the NET Work Spot, so call it the Network Spot, opened Monday at 2516 North 24th Street, in the heart of Old North Omaha. And the business is described as a co-working space with concierge service, where it's a place where solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and business professionals can network and discover their next big idea. The Network Spot occupies a bay in the same building as Styles of Evolution clothing store and Stable Gray marketing business.
Solopreneur was a term that I had not seen before, because I did read the newsletter.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome. And solopreneur is like,
unlike last week,
I think people just sell things to themselves. I'm not sure what a solopreneur is.
A solopreneur would be an entrepreneur who has no staff. So it's like you're all solopreneur and no staff instead of you're all
online or in person, I'm sure.
Yeah. So most people start out as solopreneurs if they're going to be an entrepreneur. But a solopreneur is just one person. So once you hire someone, then you're no longer a solopreneur. But you're a bipreneur. We need or a tri. We need a space like this in North Omaha.
Omnipreneur.
Actually, there's going to be another project very close to that where North End Teleservices is going to build its new office, and there's going to be some residential in that space. So we've got some good.
That's the lady that is president of the chairman of the board of the city of the chamber.
Yeah, Carmen Tapio. Yeah, she is chair of the Greater Omaha Chamber this year.
She's invested well in North Omaha.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's going to have a real positive impact on what we're trying to accomplish in redeveloping that 24th Street corridor. The University of Nebraska Medical Center plans to demolish 3 vacant properties along Leavenworth by the end of this month. So explain what this is all about. UNMC purchased 3 properties. They're all single-family houses. They're just kind of right there along Leavenworth. You know, they're a little bit west of Barrett's Barley Corn, a little bit east of Broncos. Of course, here on Grow Omaha, we find everything in relationship to restaurants and food, but they're just kind of sitting there. And so they're going to tear them down, and UNMC is just kind of use them for green space and parking for now. And the thought is eventually down the road, as they grow and grow and grow, they might need that space.
Better than fixing up homes that are 100 years old.
And, who wants to, a lot of these, the front door is about, 6 inches from Leavenworth.
And next to a bar.
And speaking of that bar, it's called Barrett's Barley Corn Pub and Grill, and then also Castle Barrett's. UNMC owns several vacant storefronts on either side of Barrett's, and there are no immediate plans to demolish those at this time. For now, UNMC is going to kind of make some minor investments so that maybe they could be used by some businesses. But again, those are kind of there for them to grow and develop. And also, just so you know, this has nothing to do with what we talked about last week. Last week, we were talking about some street improvements along Leavenworth closer to Saddle Creek to accommodate the increased additional traffic flow into the future Saddle Creek campus. This is completely separate and further east from that project. But UNMC continues to do very good things, and we're really, really excited about the future there. The Collective, a co-working space, has opened in Regency Landing. Now, Regency Landing is this redevelopment of an existing area on the northeast corner of Interstate 680 and Pacific Street. According to the company's website, the Collective offers private offices, designated desks, and hot desks in a fully equipped, versatile office setting.
I've heard of heated chairs, but
I figured as soon as that's why I emphasized the term hot desk, because I figured it would catch your attention and you would want to know what it is.
I know desks that go up and down. There's people in our office that have the standing desk,
yep,
ergonomic, or whatever they call it.
I don't think that's what a hot desk is. I'll be honest. I don't 100% know.
I
but
bet you it's that you can plug and play like
hoteling.
It's probably got screens.
Yeah.
And your computer, your laptop, you just plug it in and go.
Yeah, I think we're on the same wavelength there. It's probably one that you can just pop in and use it.
Shaker Place has become Regency Landing. The fine folks at Access Commercial are well into that development, and they got some good restaurants down there and pickleball. They got enclosed pickleball now.
Yeah, that has turned out pretty nice. Archwell Health plans to open 3 primary care centers in Omaha to provide health care to Medicare-eligible senior citizens. It's headquartered in Nashville, Tennessee. Kind of has a different, maybe a non-traditional approach to healthcare services. They are going to build 3. We know one of them will be somewhere along North 90th Street. I personally don't know where because their press release didn't say.
They didn't say how big they were, did they?
In terms of square footage?
Yeah.
No, but I'll give you a hint. The second one is going to be in the former Hancock Fabric Store at Westgate Plaza. So if you can picture how big that is, that's how big they're going to be. Does that help?
It sounds like 15 to 20.
I would think that'd be pretty big, yeah. So these are...
What about Lincoln?
It didn't say in the press release anything about Lincoln. They currently operate 30 centers, and they are located in Birmingham, Alabama, Charlotte, Kansas City, Oklahoma City, St. Louis, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Las Vegas.
Interesting.
So, yeah, it'll be fun to keep our eye on that. I think it's, it's nice to keep adding to the healthcare presence
I
in
think
Omaha.
Omaha is well taken care of. If you want to get healthy, there are plenty of resources.
And if you want to get sick, it's a good place to be sick, but we urge you to stay healthy.
Most people don't want to get sick unless they're a bug chaser.
Don't get sick. All right. Have you ever heard of Video King here in Omaha?
I thought it was in Council Bluffs.
It's in Omaha. We actually interviewed them on the show once many years ago. It's a cool business. They provide
$59 million they sold for or something?
Well, it's they sold to a company out of Las Vegas called Everi, E-V-E-R-I. I think it's Every.
Huge in bingo.
Every Holdings of Las Vegas. They entered into a purchase agreement, and Every is going to purchase the majority of this Omaha-based provider of electronic bingo gaming tablets, video gaming content, instant win games, and related systems. It'll be a $59 million deal, is expected to close within 2 months.
I can't picture where their offices are.
It's kind of by Nebraska Furniture Mart. At least I know that's where they used to be because I visited their offices.
Okay. Vaguely remember.
Before we had them on Grow Omaha years ago, I visited their office and they gave me a tour. It was a really cool operation.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've had about 1,000 shows, so every once in a while we forget who we have on.
So Video King is currently licensed in 60 jurisdictions. This is expected to help them expand more. And they did about $25 million in revenue in 2022. And this comes from an installed base of more than 50,000 portable electronic bingo tablets that they have underway and going on right now in tribal casinos, commercial casinos, charitable bingo halls, military bases, and cruise ships.
Party animals. Do we know if they're going to keep their presence in Omaha?
It sounds like they are, and it sounds like they will continue to do what they do. They're just going to be part of a bigger company and probably have some deeper pockets in which to grow and expand.
Isn't it amazing these big Omaha businesses, relatively big, that people just don't really know exist?
Pretty cool. There's tons of them all over the place. Good businesses that are making a big difference. We're going to break for the news, middle of the show. And when we come back from the news, we've got a new building planned at Exarban Village. And we're also going to be talking about Fleet Farm and a convenience store chain might be changing names here in Omaha. All sorts of stuff to come. Don't miss any of it. You're listening to Jeff Beals, who is sitting next to Trent and Magid. We're brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding. Back in a moment on News Radio 1110 KFAB.
So do you know how Come and Go got their name?
How? Oh, because I noticed the last guy's name of the founder started with a K.
Well, it's Krause and Tucker's, Cindy's sister and brother-in-law, who, the orthopedist in Des Moines, are really good friends with the Krause family.
Yeah.
And it started by Krause and Gentle. There's someone named Gentle.
Okay.
And so it was obviously Come and Go, C-O-M. Why they chose K, why they chose C-U-M, I don't know.
It's cringy.
It's cringy. Maybe they'll change it like Came and Went or something.
Hopefully they change it to Maverick.
Yeah, but think about changing. So you have 400 stores, You know, Buc-ee's had, what, 111 maybe, or instead of 100? And that was a $580 million deal. So this could be a $2 billion deal. They sold and leased back a lot of their real estate before for Come and Go. But everything that's labeled Come and Go, I mean, think about the cost of doing that.
Think about the long-term benefit, though. If you want, because basically
Because like McDonald's, you want this.
It takes Maverick, which I love Maverick stores, by the way. I go to them a lot.
I have never heard of it.
Oh, I've been to them in Utah, in western Nebraska. I think they've made it. They might even be in Lincoln already now.
What's amazing is 400 stores.
Great store. I love Maverick.
400 stores, like 10 or 14 states, and they were only the 24th largest chain. Think about that for a second.
Yeah. Well, there's some big ones out there. So at any rate, this is going to be 800 stores in 20 states now. And if Maverick was the guy to buy, if I own Maverick, I don't want them all to be Mavericks.
Yeah, that's the ego too.
And the Maverick stores look really, really cool. They look really nice and way better name. Like I say, that name is cringy.
People were bashing. If you looked on social media stuff, people were like, God, I hope it wasn't Casey's that bought them. Did you see that?
Yeah, why do people not like Casey's?
I don't know. But they're supposedly burritos are really good at Mavericks. You ever had the burritos at Mavericks?
No. But
Casey's like people like the breakfast pizza.
But the reason I like Mavericks is the stores look cool. They kind of have a western mountain. They have like that. They look like something out of Utah. They have like a rock facade or a fake.
Obviously,
rock facade.
I prefer Anderson Convenient Mart, and not just because Ray Anderson has beautiful blue eyes, but the whole family.
He is a handsome guy. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Salt-of-earth people, very sweet and kind. They're like one of the few locally owned gas stations and convenience stores, and just all around good people. Their son Ray Jr. serves in the military, and the family is very philanthropic and just beautiful people.
But why?
Since 1952.
Going back to their competitor Casey's. I don't know why people would love or hate Casey's. It's just there. It's not the same as Come and Go. Why do you love or hate Come and Go? It's just there. It's just.
But what did you think of Buc-ee's?
It was just there. I mean, it was just. Yeah. I mean, it was a chain of convenience stores. Like I don't know if they.
So you need a hook. You need Casey's. With their pizza, let's say.
Yeah, that's their hook. And like Anderson's hook.
But when Casey's took over, started coming to Omaha before they even took over Buc-ee's. It was like I always thought of them as a small town.
Yeah, that's true.
They were like,
back in the day, the only time you ever saw Casey's was in some really small town in Iowa or Nebraska.
And then they decided to come to the city and compete.
Yeah, and when they first came to the city, they had that. No offense, Casey's, that corny, hokey. Remember the way the facade used to look?
Well,
then they modernized
with the thing on top. With the rooster.
The weather vane.
Yeah, the weather vane.
They looked very country. Yeah, and they called themselves Casey's General Store.
But nothing beats.
It was pretty corny.
The new Amico stores with the red, white, and blue patriotic color change, and why BP took so long to say, okay, we bought what was standard. Now it's Amico. It's like, hey, we're in America. Maybe we should do red, white, and blue.
And Amico was such a beloved brand,
Right.
And it's kind of like what Maverick taking over the Come and Go. It's not like the Come and Go brand is beloved. Whereas Amico was a beloved brand.
Right.
Yeah.
How many people out there's fathers and grandfathers called it, we have to go to the filling station?
My grandparents did.
My father was at the filling station.
My dad says gas station, but his father, my grandpa, and his mother, my grandma, would always be like, oh yeah, let's go stop by the filling station. Yeah.
My mom was the beauty shop.
My mom used to call it. My mom still might call it the beauty shop.
And you have to.
Now it's
we're getting
salon.
Nostalgic here on Grow Omaha.
Everyone else calls it a salon, right?
Yeah.
Or go to see my stylist. But back then it was the beauty shop, and it was always filling station.
But you got to make friends with your filling station attendant, because you never know. Like in the '70s, when gas prices went way up or whatever, you may need a favor.
So for those of you who are younger than us, when Trent and I were kids, you would pull up at the gas station. A guy would come out right away, start washing your window.
Yeah.
When you went to the standard station, wash your window, check your tire pressure while the gas was filling.
Warren Anderson, 90th and Center.
Yeah. So
I think only twice. My mom might have gotten some car damage going through the old first generation car washes. I don't know what just jumped up on the.
I'm sure it wasn't a mom's operating error. No. So, speaking of grandparents calling it a filling station instead of a gas station, a beauty shop instead of a salon, another thing my grandparents used to do is they had a different way of pronouncing the word restaurant. We always say restaurant. People in their generation lots of times would say it more like restaurant. I remember a lot of sometimes you'll run into older people.
Is that like Jerry Kozlowski?
It's a very nice restaurant. I can't even say it the way. It's almost like they get rid of the AU, like a very good restaurant.
Remember our history teacher in like 8th or 9th grade, Jerry Kozlowski, Italy.
Great guy. Yeah, he took us on our trip to Washington D.C.
Yeah. There was a lot of other kids. It just wasn't us and a teacher. It was like,
because that'd be a little weird.
We didn't share a room with the teacher.
That'd be inappropriate.
As they do now.
Well, now the eighth grade DC trips are only like a 3-day deal on a plane.
Oh, really?
We did a 15-day deal on a bus.
Trailways
4
kids to a room, 2 kids to a bed.
Remember the bus bumped into something on part of the trip, and we had to swap it out and get a new bus in one city?
Vaguely.
He was backing out of something. It was like crunch.
15. It's too bad the live radio
crunch.
The terrestrial radio listeners, if they could get on our KFAB.com and listen to this instead of commercials, that'd be pretty cool.
Maybe it's best they can't.
Gives us time to edit.
A tribute to the Beatles, coming live to the Orpheum Theater Monday, May 15th. Details and registration at KFAB.
And welcome back to the show. I'm Jeff Beal, sitting next to Trenton Magid, and we're brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding. Tell you what, if you drive enough miles in a year, in a lifetime, you are from time to time statistically going to be in an accident, a fender bender. Someone's going to door ding you when they're getting out of their car. Whatever the case may be, your car is a major investment. I mean, it's really one of the most expensive things we buy or own, and you want to take good care of it. If you get a little door ding or a little fender bender or scratched, or you irritated someone in a road rage incident and they keyed you when you weren't looking, or if it's a bad accident, doesn't matter. They take good care of you.
And they work really well with insurance companies.
Yeah, Trent and I have both used them on more than one occasion and have always been extremely pleased, and we highly recommend Dingman's Collision Center with 4 metro area
They're
locations.
Artists, and they also have mechanical work too, but they do the mechanical work and then they send it over to the body shop, and they're artists to make it look brand new or even better.
It's time for our commercial real estate development spotlight of the week, brought to you by Noddle Companies. You're going to love this one. This one is a big, big deal. They're all big deals, but this one's a bigger deal. Noddle Companies is the premier commercial real estate developer in this part of the country, and thankfully they're headquartered right here in the Midwest. Noddle Companies has done countless projects. Right now, though, they have a handful or more that are underway. They're working on Steel Ridge at Interstate 80 and Highway 370, working on Village Point West Medical Campus, the Builders District downtown, where they've got that sweet mass timber building that is just starting to go up, River's Edge and Council Bluffs. Today, we're going to talk about what might be their highest profile Omaha project, and that is Exarban Village. And a new lease was just a new lease listing just announced on Crexy.com lately for a building in Exarban Village. And this is no small building. We're talking about 9 stories, 175,000 square feet, floor plates of about 17,500 square feet. It's going to be at 6470 Francis Street. Here's what that means. Okay, picture yourself in Exarban Village. You know where the HDR headquarters is, and HDR is that 10-story building with HDR in it. It is kind of on the west side of the Interrail food court, food hall, I should say. And then to the southeast of HDR and Interrail food hall is an open area where they currently have some sand volleyball courts. This 9-story building is to be built right on those sand volleyball courts. And right now, Trent and I are looking at an architect's rendering of it. Really attractive building. Looks like you'll have 2 floors, and then on the 3rd floor, or basically on the roof of the 2nd floor, for part of it, there's going to be like an outdoor plaza that's going to be looking over the Interrail food hall. And then you've got 7 more stories on top of that. It'll use the same parking garage as HDR uses and all that. So, and then longer term plans call for a residential building to be built to the east of that, but we don't know any details. That to the best of our knowledge, is still a little
really
bit
cool.
off. Yeah. So
It almost looks like a timber building, but I don't think it is.
well, the outside of it kind of has some similarities to the timber building that Noddle Companies is doing in the Builders District. So we'll keep an eye on that. We don't have a construction date on that. My guess is some of that depends on when they start signing leases.
But you'd be in the heart of Exarban Village.
Yeah, sweet thing, and really cool stuff. It's part of Exarban Village Zone 6, which the Interrail Food Hall is part of Zone 6. So that is your commercial real estate development spotlight of the week, brought to you by our good friends at Noddle Companies, the team led by Jay Noddle and everyone else over there doing such a good job. You can learn more about them quite easily by going to noddlecompanies.com. Also, Noddle Companies has a pretty active Facebook page if you want to find out information there as well. All right. Well, we still have several more things to talk about, Trenton. And one of the things we want to mention is Fleet Farm. You and I have talked about how there's a Fleet Farm eventually coming to 180th and West Maple Road.
Antler View area.
In the Antler View area. Well, now, and we told you in the past that we were pretty sure there was one coming to 192nd and Highway 370 in Gretna.
Northwest corner.
Now we know that's for sure because on the Gretna City Planning Board agenda for the April 25th meeting is consideration of a 150,000 square foot fleet farm. It would have a gas station, like I believe a lot of them do. Fleet Farm is headquartered in Wisconsin. They have approximately 48 stores, somewhere around there, and they're almost all in those upper Midwest states. They mostly Wisconsin and Minnesota, but they have them in the Dakotas. They came to Iowa a couple of years ago. There's a big one on the west side of Des Moines, Iowa.
They compare them to a Tractor Supply meets Menards meets
kind of like a Cabela's, kind of like it's a little bit everything. I'm actually looking forward to having it. I popped my head into one once in South Dakota and remember thinking, this is a pretty cool store. And so I'm glad that they are coming to the metro area. So 180th and West Maple, and now 192nd and Highway 370. Speaking of Highway 370, Trenton, you mentioned a Menards store, and that's another Noddle Companies project there, Steel Ridge. Menards does plan eventually to put a store on Steel Ridge North.
Yeah, and I've got a client that has some land under contract there, and he's going to build a strip center there, and we may even have a pad site to sell for about an acre. So if anybody has a tenant or there's tenants out there that want to go into a strip center, whether it's end cap or freestanding, give me a call.
Salt Lake City-based Maverick, a chain of 400 gas station convenience stores in 12 states, including western Nebraska, is acquiring Come and Go, a family-based C-store chain based in Des Moines, Iowa. Come and Go has 400 locations in 13 states. The Maverick has not said whether they're going to change the Come and Go's to Maverick. I personally hope they do so we can get rid of kind of a cringy name.
63 years ago, they came, and now they went.
They're going to go. So we don't know if they'll stay Come and Go, if they'll stay Maverick. Hopefully they'll adopt that Maverick name. The Maverick stores look kind of cool, and Come and Go has done very well in Omaha as
People
well.
like Come and Go. They're good customer service, not as good as Anderson Food Marts, but on a large scale, they do a fine job.
And for that, we're going to, or I guess after that, we're just going to kind of go to our final break of the hour. And when we come back, it'll be the Turner Construction Lightning Round. A lot of things on the list to go through, so stay with us. You're listening to Jeff and Trenton on Grow Omaha, brought to you by Dingman's Collision Center and D&M Roofing and Siding. Back in a moment on News Radio 1110 KFAB.
That's pretty slick.
What?
The building's pretty slick. So
Isn't that neat?
This is Francis,
Yeah. That's Francis.
and the food courts are there.
Yeah, see there are those big.
And that's residential.
Yeah, but I think it's more of a placeholder. I don't know if they're necessarily committed to do it because that's like 10 stories over that restaurant. I don't know if it's going to be that big, but this is
There's that much land. I remember parking there And then there's a law office right here.
DLR.
Yeah, the DLR buildings right there.
Yeah. You know what because they have another empty spot over on this corner back here behind the parking garage, and my understanding is that eventually is going to go residential there too. They could temporarily put the sand volleyball.
God, we could have had casinos. That would have been such a waste of this property.
Oh, had they done that with Exarban?
Ugh.
Oh God, that would have been so dirty.
Not that there's anything wrong with them in Council Bluffs.
I think they're dirty.
Hell, I've got in trouble for saying.
No, he said Iowa's a triple X-rated
Yeah,
state.
apparently you're not supposed to say that.
We like Iowa. We don't like the University of Iowa Hawkeyes football team, but we like the state of Iowa. The state of Iowa is a very important
We
part.
like held up.
A very important part of Omaha metropolitan area. We particularly love Potawatomi, Mills, and Cass counties in Iowa. That's what we really like in Iowa.
And we can only call the show Grow Omaha because it would be too long of a website, and Grow Omaha, Council Bluffs, and surrounding areas.com was taken.
Grow Omaha, Council Bluffs, Bellevue.com.
It would say Greta. / Greta.
And Springfield. Yeah, that's gonna be cool. I imagine they're gonna have to part of it at least before they build, though. I would think, but who knows? Who knows? Sweet building, though. Here's what it looks like on the site plan. So, yeah. So if they wanted to, because here's where they have all the outdoor amenities. You know, sunnies, the turf, the dog parks, the exercise. That's slated for future residential. If they wanted to, they could take those sand volleyball courts and stick them over there for a while.
Yeah, 4 minutes.
This is the building. This is the new building.
Yeah, and there's the new building right there. All right, we got a lot on the list.
Yeah, work on this, Roger.
Ridiculous EPA standards, abortions at VA hospitals, and more. We talked with U.S.
And it's the lightning round brought to you by Turner Construction, where we cover a lot of things in a very short period of time. Turner Construction is building Omaha, and they're building Omaha like crazy. A lot of people know them from the Sarpy County Data Center, which continues to grow, by the way. But Turner also does multiple projects, big, medium, little, everything. One of the best known, biggest contractors in the world. So they have incredible resources, but they're very customer service focused, very people oriented. And when I talk to people in Omaha who have used Turner as their contractor, they are always very pleased. Great things to say. They love the support. They love the communication. They love the finished product. So thank you to Turner for making the Turner Construction Lightning Round a possibility. Gosh, let's get started. Steel is going up for the future Charleston's restaurant in Heartwood Preserve, 144th and Dodge.
Town Post Office.
And it's right next to the future Mahogany, which Steel has already been going up on that one. Flagship Restaurant Group, which is based here in Omaha, is opening Memoir, a new restaurant concept at 9th and Harney Street in the brand new Brick Line building. This is part of the Mercantile development on the old north part of the ConAgra campus. Flagship has 17 restaurants in 9 states now. They're also planning in that same building to open a yet-to-be publicly named Mediterranean restaurant.
I would maybe challenge the 17 restaurants. I think they have a heck of a lot more. They maybe have 17 blues around the country.
Oh, perhaps. That's just what there was an article in Food Chain Magazine.
I think maybe they have 17 different concepts. Because Flagship Omaha's growing, it's a lot bigger.
Fovero Greek and Home-Style Kitchen plans to have a grand opening April 26 at 839 Terra Plaza in Papillion, Greek restaurant, as you might imagine. Marco's Pizza plans to open May 1st at 106th and Fort. This will be the brand's 4th Omaha area location. Trenton Talus Spirits and Sustenance in Papillion, they only opened in August, and they're expanding already. They're going to go into the bay next door, additional seating, and a 50-person party room.
Party on.
They're growing like crazy. Sonny's, the bar and restaurant housed in an Airstream trailer at Exarban Village, has opened for the season. They're located in the public open gathering space just north of the Interrail Food Hall. For those of you with very large appetites, the Ameristar Casino and Hotel Council Bluffs Buffet plans to reopen. It's been closed since the pandemic. They've not announced an official date yet, but they say it's coming soon. Maybe they want people to start lining up for the buffet in line right now. Dragon Walk was named the #1 Chinese restaurant in Nebraska on lovefood.com's list of best Chinese restaurants in every state. And Dragon Walk has locations at 144th and Fort and in Nebraska Crossing in Gretna. Legends Cafe is staying open. We announced in our newsletter just a couple days ago that it's going to close. Well, that's because it was, but they found a buyer, and now it's going to stay open. It's located at 501 South Main Street in downtown Council Bluffs. I've never tried it, but I hear very good things.
Good.
Here it's quite good. The new Julio's at 114th and Dodge, unfortunately, is now the old Julio's. It closed. But if you are a Julio's fan, the good news is that the location at 192nd and Q is doing quite well and will stay open.
That's one of your favorite restaurants, I hear.
I tell you, it's interesting how, it just shows you tough. Restaurant business is tough.
There's a lot of Mexican concepts coming open, too.
And the staffing issues make it so difficult and everything else. So.
Muy bien.
Elegant Edge to Go has replaced Cafe Diem at 96th and Giles in La Vista, and the Hy-Vee store in Gretna will open sometime in June at 192nd and 370. Music's playing. We're out of time. I'm Jeff Beals.
And I'm Trenton Maggot.
You've been listening to Grow Omaha, brought to you by Turner Construction, D&M Roofing and Siding, and Dingman's Collision Center. We'll chat with you next week at 9 o'clock right here on News Radio 1110 KFAB.
Good info, Bealsies.
Good information, Trentoni.
If you like this video, be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And remember, Grow Omaha is not just media. This is a mission. We are trying to build up Omaha and make it an even better place. We can only do that with your help. Share this video with your friends, neighbors, and family.